What the hell is this?
Hello everyone, this is Bedhead. I'm accompanied with Tired Matrix, and this video has been in the back burner for the longest time, and we are just barely recording this on December 7th. I need to time mark this so when it's funny after I'm finished editing. Origins of this are our To Aru challenge, where I read GT volumes 1 through 10 without any context of the light novel, and that basically started me on my light novel journey / addiction. I am reading all kinds of light novels and buying too many light novels. I need major help. Please help me. Me and Matrix are just gonna basically be talking about what we liked and any criticisms that we have of, GT 1 through 10.
Yes, I'm the person responsible for having Bedhead read everything out of context. Don't blame him, blame me.
Well, I blame Faster the Elite solely. That shit will never fly. Faster the Elite season 3 is basically
it's not even me.
So I guess without further ado, I have my Google Doc, and I kind of, I don't have any notes for GT 8, 9, and 10, but we're gonna start with the first one. And what's funny is that I haven't dated. That's awful. I read GT 1 in May 3rd of this year, and that feels like so long ago. It's crazy to remember GT1 at this point. But one of the things that still sticks with me is something I wrote that GT1 did a very nice blend of magic and science as a reintroduction for new readers, because To Aru's been going on for a fucking long time. 20 plus years is crazy. But I remember fondly remembering GT1. He killed it with the detail. So yeah, 1 year in this series is gonna end, and that is mind-boggling to me. And what's funny is that
it's only been 6 months, yeah.
Right? And something that continues to give me whiplash is, we started on OT20 for our rando, and Toma's fucking smart as hell, and in GT he feels like anime Toma, where it's silly and funny, and I'm like, how this doesn't make sense in my mind, and it's really funny. Oh yeah, but the prologue to GT1 opens up with fucking Misaka and Misaki escaping purgatory from Tokyo Die, and that's honestly pretty funny. But I also, we get introduced to Anna Sprengel, that fucking bitch, when she fucking kisses him at the end. I'm like, no, what is this? Oh, bitch got stabbed? I forgot about that. I forgot that happened. Bitch got stabbed, and he gets his wound sewn up without any anesthetic.
Oh yeah.
Toma goes through so much shit without anesthetics, and it's honestly horrifying. GT really wants his fucker dead. And that's the point we'll revisit later.
Toma's misfortune never gave him any chances to actually, enjoy an everyday normal life, high school life, as he likes to gaslight himself into believing that he's just a normal high school boy you can find anywhere. I still don't believe that.
But yeah, but GT1 really did the with Anna Sprengel showing up in this whole overarching mystery of RNC Cultics, which really did get me on the GT train for a long time. That they're making magic as a popular thing, and making people and espers aware of magic and to use it. That stuff was really, really interesting, and something that it's been a thing since OT1, magic and science being separate entities, but now I'm not sure in NT, but I feel like for me as a genuine new light novel reader, this is just becoming more of a the barriers are being broken. It's more of a mesh than ever in GT1 and throughout GT series.
Yeah, this is genuinely the first time that we see the two sides basically overlapping. I guess it is a better word. Overlapping so much in a single volume, and magic being exposed to the science side, and the science side not really being aware about it that much. But I do remember when I first read it, this was a really interesting volume to read because of that overlap, and also because this was the first time I think we saw a director, a board of director,
Yeah.
using magic as a different system to further his own goals. Even though he was a good guy, but he walked down the bad path.
He tried to cover up magic with a scientific explanation, to which I don't even remember at this point. But Othiness, to which I know nothing of except just I know that she's there and she's funny. But Othiness, she sees through his explanation instantly, and she's like, "That's magic, and you're frauding yourself to thinking it's science." It's still really cool how Kamachi tries to make it work through a scientific sense. And honestly, what's funny is that I am watching the Irregular Magic High School Season 3, and the Irregular makes magic into a technological feat that is accomplished through machines and CADs, and that's like interesting, but so much to the point where I can't even follow the in-depth explanation that it goes. So this overlap of trying to make like magic scientifically feasible, and the way how the Irregular makes magic technologically feasible in a science is kind of cool. It's crazy how this overlap is happening at the exact same time. And then we get an illusion-breaking punch, and that's Pika's up.
I guess to add on to that thought, I could say, in one of Kamachi's early interviews, in one of the early volumes, he said that he wanted to portray magic as like a kind of science, and portray science as like this kind of occultish type thing because of the culture in Academy City, and how science supremacist beliefs, and how many science supremacy beliefs there are prevalent in Academy City. It almost makes the science side seem like the more of the occultish side, which is kind of ironic. And he also states that Academy City, he designed the magic side first, and then the science side came into play just to be the backdrop of the magic events. And that's how Kamachi started this entire series. So it's really interesting and crazy to think how that had evolved into a whole ass franchise about science and magic both, and primarily science gaining the absolute favor of the majority of the fans. Right now, as we speak, I'm going through some of the stuff, and I just remembered this was the sisters were also involved in all this, in the entirety of this.
There was...
So it was also a cute moment just seeing
1032.
The Misuka and Moto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Misuka and Moto and Misuka trying to crack the phone of the person they were looking through. But Index managed to guess it first. So she got the absurd amount of cream on the donut thing to eat. That was a cute little moment. I guess another one last thing I would like to point out is that GT1 does a good job of re-establishing everything, because you may not know this, Bedhead, but
what?
Because every time the series ends, like technically the first OD ended, and then what NT had to do was basically try to sort of serve as like a new starting point for the series. Because even if you didn't know the previous stuff, it could work as like a soft reboot kind of way.
Oh yeah.
To like re-establish everything that happened, and because the series is just that long, and apparently Kamachi even says in one of his author notes that he kept it that way so it would be easier for people to jump into the series. Now, don't quote me on that. It's just what I remember.
I mean, I genuinely agree with that. I even said that, like, it felt like a really good introduction for me, who's never read Like, I know the manga and anime, but diving into the much deeper light novels, GT1, despite it being like the second sequel series after OT, it just recontextualized, Academy City. This is the science side, and then we have Othiness, who is like my new, dive into the magic side of stuff, and then, our this whole like mystery with RNC Cultics is like, okay, now we're like going into the magic side, and it's starting to make magic a thing, and I'm like, okay, that's great, because now I know stuff of the magic side, from what I remember of past things in manga and anime. So it really did like bring my interest into what is this new continuation of Toaru from what I know, but I'm missing the entirety of NT. And that being said, I still have not finished my NT1 volume, thanks to a certain someone. But yeah, I remember very nice things of GT1. Let's go on to my favorite volume of the whole series.
Yeah, GT2 apparently.
Well, I already know 11 is gonna be SS tier, but like GT2 is still my number one volume of all time. I love GT2 so fucking much. GT2 is my favorite volume, hands down, before reading GT11. It's fucking awesome. I'm only gonna just... the easiest simplification of GT2 I can say is that the ending of GT2 reminds me of the ending of Danmachi Season 3. And that shit is fucking amazing. Danmachi and GT2 are my favorite stories. Or like, storylines of that value. Toma's getting fucking like killed from the inside by Saint Germain, and we have Misaka and Misaki teaming up against Anna Springle, and they fucking lose big time. It's awful and sad, and their fight is valiant. And much like Bell when he got his ass kicked by Asterius, Misaka, not Misaki, got up and just said, I want to be stronger. And that resonates so much in me. It's not cringe. It's not a shonen bit where every second of every episode or chapter they want to say they get stronger. No, that shit is honorable. It's awesome. And Toma, I didn't even mention first, Toma's telling the doctor, the frog-faced doctor, that he's scared of dying. Oh, that was fucking amazing. I felt so bad for the dude. But I think every volume after that, and I'm gonna touch on the point where I said that every volume GT wants to kill. I must get this off my chest right now. I think that every volume after 2, where Toma has admitted to being scared of dying because he was being poisoned by Saint Germain, and then he talked to this fucking thing. That's crazy. But I think every volume after that has either alluded or done actions that have led him to or almost dying. And then we get to GT10, where it still clings on to the thing, like the... Shit, what's the motif that he's going to die, and then he bites the dust in 10. And trust me when I say that I already knew he died from the status of the wiki. I didn't care. That's just that's just a word on a website. I have not read it for the first time, so that impact is still gonna be fresh when I read it. I still shed a fucking tear when he bit the dust. Don't get me wrong, but I think when you emphasize that point so much in every volume, because it's supposed to be really emotional by the time he gets to by the time. I kind of forgot what happens in 10. In his confrontation with Alice. He gets to Alice, he's like fighting Alice, trying to like bring her back or whatever, and then he just dies. Standing up with that face. And that did something to me. But it's emphasizing every volume that he's gonna die. And it didn't hit. That moment didn't hit as hard as it would have been had they not done that. Like GT2, fresh as fuck, because I didn't expect that. But then you're, foreshadowing upon foreshadowing on his confirmed death at the start of a new year, and that kind of didn't weigh as much as 2, and upon like the other times he like died in GT6 because of Aradia, and then Mary brought him back with belonged to Succubus's blood, right? It is GT6 I'm thinking about?
Yes.
Okay. It just didn't hit as much with that confirmed sense of death then, because they keep just bringing it up. It was still great. Kamachi is great, but I feel like he pinpointed it way too much for me to have been as impacted. For that moment to be as impactful as it did. Seeing that artwork though is fucking... it's beautiful.
I do agree with that point that he definitely made... I think this is kind of like an overall criticism that many people have about GT. It's kind of like Death Testament. Every single character kind of goes through a... Not every single. Some character would go through a fake death and then come back. Oh, I was actually alive. Oh, I didn't actually die. Oh, I got brought back to life. So it's the legit embodiment of Cliffhanger Testament and then Fake Out Testament. And it really suits it. And on the point of there being so much emphasis on Toma's quote-unquote death, it does take away from its impact after it's been almost kind of overemphasized in so many volumes. Between the whole time it takes up to build his eventual confirmed death, I don't think it took away from the impact for me, but because it was so overemphasized in the previous volumes, at those times it didn't have the impact it should have had he not emphasized it so much. Two things that we have to keep in mind. Kamachi is a coward. He'll never kill off characters except for Frenda, who was an exception, and Darkside people. Those are an exception as well. And that impacted the story. Frenda's death way more than you could imagine. So first of all, we know that he's coming back. I've not read GT11. The people who have would know what I'm talking about. He's coming back. He's the main character. And they also hinted at it with the Hell Tour.
Inferno
and after seeing both me and Bedhead saw the fucking cover art. We saw the illustrations. It was fucking Dante's Inferno, the Thor version.
That's my favorite story along with Frankenstein. I'm probably a simplistic bitch, but Inferno is just awesome. And reading OG Frankenstein is actually so much more deeper than I ever thought.
Ah, that's interesting. I never knew that you liked Frankenstein.
I love Frankenstein.
The story so much.
Yeah, it's an actual book that I read outside of manga and anime. Isn't that fucking weird? Yeah, Dante's Inferno and Tomorrow. It's already SS tier. I'm just saying, hands down, well, once I read that shit, no one's gonna hear from me. That shit will be the best volume Tomorrow, hands down. 11, top of the tops. After I read that.
And apparently I'm hearing it's the shortest GT volume.
Oh, thank the fucking gods.
Like, it's even shorter than, apparently some people have said it's even shorter than NT9, which is like 160 to 80 pages.
I thought NT9 would be...
Which is really interesting.
Long. You're breaking my illusion matrix. I don't wanna jump into NT9.
Someone's gotta pick up that too.
No, I don't want to read NT9 thinking it's short as fuck. I was expecting it to be hella long.
Getting back on point. GT2. Yeah, it was a volume, and it was a good volume. I don't think it's peak.
That's a shame.
Bedhead would like you to... As Bedhead would preach, and I do think it's a good volume. I think my major fact for believing that is just because Toma's in the hospital, and as you mentioned, the scene with the doctor, that did hit pretty hard. Along with I just love the introduction. It's so Kamachi-esque comedy-written introduction that you could ever find.
I actually want to go back to follow up with your point on, the introduction. But, I remember saying in my review that GT2, at least for the first chapter, it has such a strong underlying powerful and sad message of, it starts off really funny, but Toma being, Toma dying on the inside, it's so sad from how he transitioned from all this funny shit with, Misaki, Misaka, Index, the sisters, and then it shifts to him talking alone with Heaven Chancellor and Misaka I think Misaka and Misaki eavesdropping. And
Yep.
they have and knowing what he's confessing to the doctor, they agree for once to fight for his behalf to at least not have him worry. But then they fucking eat shit by NS Frankel. And to remember something that I awfully wrote in my review, I thought it was them fighting, think of Metal Gear Rising or Vengeance. Misaka and Misaki are Raiden, and Anna Sprengel is Senator Armstrong. Oh, I'm gonna have a fun time doing that one, but it was just horrible. They ate shit. But trust me, I love their struggle against Anna Sprengel. It's such a beautiful moment because they're actually cooperating for Toma's sake. But they eat shit.
True.
But Misaka's revelation is still such a strong moment for me that it makes me realize that's why I respect her as an independent character, and Railgun as her independent story, with Toma being like the side character but really important, is great. I respect her so much in Railgun, and she's a funny reoccurring character in the main story. But now I realize I've forgotten which volume. Probably 6, 7. No, it wasn't 6 because that's Shibuya. But I now understand why you said that like Kamachi just inserts those two randomly in the story, and I'm like, yeah, it feels so off. But I really do respect Misaka as an independent character, and this story, this arc, this one volume arc, really makes it so much stronger because of that.
I think for once it actually was like, hey, they appeared in the story. They actually have plot relevance. Oh, they hear this specific thing that Toma is telling Heaven Chancellor that they shouldn't be hearing, but they did end up hearing, and they do decide for themselves that they should take a step towards protecting that boy that has always protected the lives of the people around him. And that was a really great moment, but of course, it's just, as I've said, and as you pointed out, and as you brought up, I should say, sometimes they're just randomly inserted into the story as a pair. In 2, it was completely appropriate. I don't have any problem with that. It's just sometimes earlier in NT and a bit later in GT, it's like, is that really necessary? Kind of makes me question some things.
Yeah.
I think this was one of the earliest hype moments of Toma in GT.
Yeah, because
his whole freaking alliance, his whole alliance with Saint Germain and him actually using magic by switching between the two, his Imagine Breaker and then the Saint Germain taking control over his body, and them working like a synergized, kind of like a synergized
unit.
Yes, as a synergized unit, yes. I was about to say a robot, which would have sounded really off. This is just pure, I don't care what anyone says, this was like such a pure fan service moment for me, in the sense, Toma is actually doing this? It was such a shocker when I first read it. I still remember like my mouth hanging agape for like, yeah, you screamed. I honestly just went all giddy with my mouth open for a solid 30 seconds. That's the beauty of Index. With Kamachi's plot twist, you never know what he's cooking.
He even made the death of Jermaine like a tearjerker moment. I'm like, how? Why? This didn't need to be so emotional, but god fucking damn. Like, yeah, there's probably more, but like, this Saint Germain, this one that Toma connected to, just, because he had to use the right hand. And I'm like, no, don't die! Not like this!
This really signified at least this instance of Saint Germain, this specific Saint Germain's character, where he was an intruding being on Toma's body, and not to cause further harm, he basically self-sacrificed himself to save the boy who usually does the same thing for the people around him, and those same people would like him to be more selfish about himself. But yeah, anyways, this was a good volume. Anything else you would like to mention?
No, I think I'm done. I love GT2, by the way. Have I ever mentioned that?
Oh, no. One last thing. This is actually the first appearance, canonical appearance, of Aihana Etsu that we do see, and with the illustration.
It's a crime that, you know, I thought about including that, but I kind of didn't know where to in my long ass rants about too. But yeah, that was a really neat moment. I remember seeing that image like years ago while I was scrolling the wiki. I'm like, who is that? And now I know. It's really cool to have made that connection from years prior to reading the actual novel. But basically, Toma just said "fuck you" and they fucked off. I think I said something like that.
Really suspicious that. Okami was there, and he had his hands burned, and Ayana Etsu also said he was in a condition to fight with his hands in his pockets. I sense a possible connection here. But next...
No.
We have...
I don't want to talk about the next one.
The greatest volume. The earliest, greatest volume in the entirety of GT. GT3.
Cap.
That so many people in the 2-hour fandom call their favorite volume.
Cap.
Because of several reasons. And as it turns out, Bedhead just doesn't know how to read a volume, because about 40% of his criticisms of the volume came from him misinterpreting how the words were written in the damn volume. He still hasn't reread the volume.
I actually
He's
got
planning
halfway.
to do that.
I got halfway and I stopped reading it.
He was like,
I'm like, I can't do this.
shit. I think I'll go first with this. GT3, a volume focusing on the dark side. As with earlier dark side volumes, Kamashi has a sort of a increase in writing quality, as some fans have noticed, because in these settings, he has an ability to write these settings in a gruesome but realistic way of how something like the dark side would actually exist in Academy City, and how it would kind of serve as one of the foundations of the city, because without it, Academy City wouldn't be existing, and all the things that go on inside that. So this whole arc culminates to being Accelerator is the board chairman. He decided to launch a plan called Handcuffs, where he would arrest all the dark side criminals and reform them and turn them into good people. But alas, the plan was rushed. He underestimated the dark side, coupled with the fact that Anna Springle, from the shadows, was manipulating the events with the coin of Nicholas. And this basically, it started off as kind of like a believable plot point, but slowly but surely it started to go downhill in terms of the shit that ended up happening. It's a long volume, gives a lot of details, and was, in my opinion, written clearly for what it is. And of course there are themes and all of that, but I haven't read this, I don't remember that much, so forgive me, but I'm just going off of memory for now. There's a good reason why many people thought this was like the best GT volume, and some to this day still think it is, or the second best GT volume. Now on to the complaints of Mr. Bedhead. How would you like to start?
Let's talk about GT4 now.
Yes, that's his entire complaint. Thank you for watching this video.
I feel like had it emphasized it was a reform, I wouldn't have been an advocate for more violence than I probably would have been. But it's chaotic. It's chaotic. It's a Kuroko-centered volume to which when she gets these volumes, she is a much more interesting character than she's normally written as. With the first time being tree remnant diagram. Now,
yes,
I have my favorite moments, even though Anna Sprengel fucked it up with the coins. But I feel like it's an overarching. Oh my gosh. It seemed like Anti-Skill at that moment in time, they're really prepared to attack, and it seemed like they would kill at Espers. And I felt like the second after Yomikawa showed up, it kind of like fell off the rails. I have my favorite moments of like the twins. They're a huge ass threat, and they're really scary together. Kuroko having to fight her way through that. But I feel like GT3, I don't know. Hamazura's good too. I like his struggles, and it reminds me of how he's struggling in OT20. But I remember the beneficial, harmful labels of the dark side when I read that volume really hung over my head. Then I guess I should have, I should not have thought about it that much. Because it's still an underside of a city in my defense, so I feel like everyone's evil no matter how you look at it. Like Hamazura is trying to break his old habits, but he's still involved himself in there, so credit where credit's due, much like to Accelerator. But I don't know. GT3 is a moral dilemma for me in my enjoyment.
It's interesting to hear that because the beneficials and harmfuls were sort of used like a double meaning thing. Because first it was introduced like, oh, this is how we should categorize everyone, because logically it makes sense that the people who are beneficial to you, because the entire reason a city's, any country's, cities or towns underground world exists is because there's a need for it. And it solves or it fulfills a specific need that can't be fulfilled by clean money or, people being greedy or corrupt people being involved. It has a lot of real life implications, but I wouldn't know how to explain that, and I just generally feel like that was a logical interpretation of being like, okay, these are the beneficials, these are the harmfuls. Harmfuls are just exist to cause chaos and as much violence as they can, and seemingly don't really benefit anyone. And these beneficials are like, they are kind of necessary in Academy City. And then it turns out the dark side itself doesn't like to be labeled as beneficial or harmfuls. Yes, there are different layers, but they wouldn't really put them in boxes like beneficial or harmful or this or that, like Anti-Skill was doing. So it was an interesting contrast in that sense. I don't remember anything else about GT3, I'm gonna be honest.
GT4, my favorite volume. Woo! I love GT4. Do I need to say it again? I'm pretty. I don't know why, but I'm always that one person who likes the the lesser recognized volumes of anything than the norm would. But GT4 is a very heartwarming story, and it strongly builds a connection and the anchor for the sisters. That's really noteworthy for the series, tackling that for the sisters. And while, cliche as fuck for like the nice ending that it does with the mother-daughter reuniting. I have to give. I don't know why I didn't open with this first, but Los Angeles, pretty hits close to home. I don't know, kind of biased towards GT4 naturally, I guess. you can't just tell me the entire population of Los Angeles is fucking gone and frozen, and not only does it make me think of a movie, that shit's fucking great. It hooked me easily. Plus, we have Toma's very funny Transla pen, that shit must not go unnoticed. That the broken English translations are hilarious.
I didn't mind it. It was funny at times, but I can see why for some people it would get old really quick. And because it's the broken English translation, doesn't really convey as much personality as people would have liked from certain characters, but I don't really fault the volume that much for it.
Also, Style shoots so.
Hey, I'm
someone,
just being fair.
Great. Style hates it.
Oh, of course. I think that was a bit of a decisive moment for like some people in the fandom.
That shit was great. I again screamed, but in like a very hype way, because that's like, it's more Toma violence, but it's from Style, and I think we all agreed after the drinking game that he's a tsundere, so he did that as a tsundere because he hates his Toma's ass. And I think that moment made me speed read the rest of 4, and I love it. Much like how the ending of GT7 made me binge read 8, 9, and 10 in like 2 days. Or was it 3?
One of the things that I really liked about the volume was the between the lines thing that Kamachi did.
Oh
Where he added the theories section. So, for example, if you had read like chapter 1 and didn't read for like 2 or 3 days, so if you needed a refresh on like what exactly happened, they're summarized in these little theories that are proposed by different characters to explain what could have happened in LA for the disappearance of all the 10 million people, was it?
Yeah, it was really good. It helped me a lot. Like even though I probably read the chapters one after the other, still, you know, it's a lot of information between Kamachi's hard visualization and trying to put together on your own what's going on as you read. These theories really do help solidify, all right, what to expect in the next coming chapter, what's true, what isn't, with the overarching mystery of what's happening to, like, what happened to the people. And then, you know, it's like, oh god, it's the sand now. Kanzaki fucking dead. Not really. Kanzaki fucking died. And then we have, you know, the mom, to which Style, like, fucking, well, that Style, he said some shit. The daughter got mad, she runs off, Toma goes to find her, and because, you know, it's not the mom's fault, but he believes it's the mom's fault. So all these mysteries come together really, like, they're built on to the end of the chapter, and the between the lines help going forward. I kind of want to read and kind of go off of what I said about the sisters, because I probably just have to read it, because the experiment, a level 6 shift, you know, they mass-produced clones of Misaka for Accelerator to slaughter for him to reach level 6, and, you know, making clones is a fucking taboo.
Legal.
And now just like the rest of the sisters are still alive and remaining in the world, and in GT4 they help Toma where no one else would, and Roberto Katse advocates for the sisters because they're doing more than other regular people do, and
for the country.
There's the American clone, there's the Russian clone, there's, you know, the Academy City clones, there's clones everywhere. And in GT5, just to give a slight nod, Imoto said that they're conducting tests to see how they would fit in society. I'm pretty sure it's 5. So that's post handcuffs. And that's really that is a what?
That's actually GT7.
7? That was for post handcuffs. Oh, when they come back to the Shibuya, huh? Because post handcuffs is Alice. Whoops, my bad. Still, on to the point of the sisters. That's a really good step for these clones in the world, and because of how they stepped up for Toma, they're being recognized or building up to be recognized as individuals, and that's really strong theming for something that's been going on since OT, what is it, 3, 4? Sisters arc? Yeah, 4?
Yep, and a really strong world building progression for the entire world.
And then
Because we kind of also follow the subplot of Accelerator being on trial, like, for his crimes. Which nobody expected, by the way. This was probably one of the biggest shocks that people received. Accelerator is retroactively trying to put himself in prison with the maximum sentence that would be allowed for him to face the full burden of his heinous crimes that he committed. It's such an interesting and unique direction that nobody expected, but a lot of people appreciated it.
Oh yeah.
Me included. I really need to point out, just to like say this is a really big thing. Fukiyoshi and Himegami show up when Toma gets out of the hospital when Misaki comes back to find him, and he's gone. Himegami, Fukiyoshi give him the clothes, because Fukiyoshi has also been taking care of the cat, and Himegami makes an appearance in this volume, which was a big shock to me, because I basically forgot about her. And she knows where he hides his spare key to his dorm room. This is gonna come into play. I'm saying this right now. She's gonna be relevant for just a bit. She's gonna appear in future volumes. This is not a quote. This is a fact, and you can't convince me otherwise.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Important question. Who's Himegami?
She's someone that you would really love if you knew, but she has an ability that makes people forget about her. But I'm the exception, because my interest in Himegami has transcended realities that I developed my own esper power to counter the brainwashing that Himegami's utter presence in the series includes. Unironically, she would have been like a really good character if she just had more expression and like more screen time and a little bit more involvement in the story.
But
After,
alas,
like, the OT stuff.
who the fuck is Himegami? I remember GT5 clear as day, or at least the first, or at least chapters 3 and 4, because chapters 1 and 2 never fucking existed. They never happened. GT5. To start to my Alice in Wonderland trauma, and I can never get away from it. I had an easier time understanding post handcuffs than actual handcuffs. That I need to spell it out there. Post handcuffs is awesome. Probably because Toma's in it. Also, I remember very clearly that GT5 is the first volume that I realized, and I had to fact check it, that Toma sleeps in his own bathtub. I fucking I threw my phone. I'm like, you're lying to me. That's not real. It's real. The prologue of 5 was really funny because Toma's broke as hell. Everyone's dying. And then we meet Alice, who is scary as hell, and I don't want to talk about her.
Did you know that Alice is one of my favorite characters?
Get out. Leave. Stop.
Okay, I'll talk about something else. Did you know in GT4, Roberto Cotley, the President of the United States, goes absolutely bonkers, and he was probably one of the most entertaining factors of GT4. And some people's opinions as to why GT4 was even slightly above mid.
I would like to disagree, but I have to agree. But I still enjoy GT4 for everything else that I noticed in it. Y'all are foul for saying it's mid as fuck. I'll fight all of you.
But switching back to GT5, it was at the end of GT4 where Anna Sprengel met up with Radia, and this was also the first reference of Anna Kingsford and Alice in the story. So do you want to talk about the people in Alice's Cabal, the Bridge Builders Cabal?
Transcendence?
Yes.
Actually, hold up. I gotta find a specific illustration because I have to say something funny. I'm just gonna start off with GT5 stuff. Toma get hit by a fucking train. That shit. I was not okay after reading that. I kind of had to. I had to step away from it for a bit. And something that I realized way too late because there were so many red flags in the first 2 chapters. He was complaining over his spilt groceries than what should be, any injuries he sustains. And that's just Alice being a freaky bitch. Like, God, that power terrifies me. Why is Bakatsuki not working? I'm gonna throw something.
Wait, oh yeah, it's not. It's also not working for me. What the hell?
It's not? No! Genesis Testament light novel got confirmed for an English release. They are taking it down. Never mind, it worked. See, I had to say it. It scared the website so bad. Is it GT9? It is. It is GT9. So, Aradia was best girl until GT9, and I'll show the image in edits. But then Moot Thieves became best transcendent girl in GT9. Sorry. End quote.
I see. So you're not a fellow hot woman enjoyer.
I am, but that Moot Thieves face is adorbs, and I go crazy for that. Sorry, Aradia, you had a lot of time for character development, but Thieves. I'm sorry, hands down. Anyway, GT5. You know, we have Trauma Center 1, which is Alice. Best Girl Aradia, who has the most foul treatment in the beginning of 7, and it's funny as hell. I will forever love 7 for their mistreatment of her. We have good old Mary. I don't know why her name's like that. It gives me whiplash every time. But she's a nice character. I like Mary. Succubus. Yeah, she exists.
Yeah, she's a succubus.
Why? I think she's a really interesting character, despite 6 being my least favorite volume. Despite all the shit I gave 3. Despite all the shit I gave 3, 6 is my least favorite. Do we talk about what's his face later or now?
We can talk about him later then. Let's just focus mainly on GT5 at the moment.
I feel like that's it, right? For the members of the Bridge Builders Cabal.
Yes. This is a really interesting group because all of them are based... All the Transcendents are based from a legend.
They're cosplayers!
It was interesting trying to figure out their mystery when they were introduced, and not really much was revealed about them. But after GT9 came out, it was like, that's an interesting concept. So they're cosplayers, kind of using
Magical
an
names.
extreme version of idol theory.
Wow.
Where you... I don't think I have to explain idol theory, right? So it's basically based on legends that are somewhat dubious but do exist because something happened in the past, and they take on that specific persona related to those legends to basically gaslight themselves and cosplay it to perfectly represent that form, that specific persona they're trying to play, to borrow that power for their own strict salvation conditions. But yes, I do really like the Transcendents. Alice is a very cute little child who absolutely will receive all the affection in the world that she deserves.
Stop doing that gaslighting shit. It's only the 2 of us here.
I've noticed something about my top favorites lists.
Are they all goddamn children?
No, that's a reference. That's what I'm trying to say is most of these characters' names start with A.
Aradia,
Freaking
Alice,
5.
Anna.
No. My top 5 favorite actually include Kamijo Toma, Accelerator, Alistair, Anna Kingsford, and Anna Sprengel.
What about Alice? I said you like
Alice is probably like 6th, and then on 7th place, finally, there's Misaka Mikoto. Oof, we are running a bit out of time, so...
We're really halfway there.
So...
2-part video!
Yeah, so multiple things happen in GT5. First, Toma cries seeing Alistair is still alive in a
I forgot about that.
in a certain someone's body.
Before we get to that, I just need to again reiterate the red flags that were chapters 1 and 2 and Hamachi like throwing me off for a loop because if everything was too easy. I never thought about it. And it was like, Alice was like, it's almost like, stop what you're doing. And she's like, oh, you don't like it? I'm like, what is going on? And then we go back to, the impact, and Toma actually is hurt and does, it's great. GT5 broke me mentally. And chapter 3, going on chapter 3, is even more of a mind break because a very forgettable railgun side character. If you know, you know.
Yep, it gets turned into a villain.
It was great.
And has a fight with Yumikawa. A really epic fight, I might add.
It was great. I screamed again. I don't know how many times I screamed, laughed, or died when I read GT, but it was amazing.
Truly a roller coaster of experience, as peak should be. One of my favorite characters from GT5, this specific volume, was Gihara Repatri. Gihara Drencher Repatri. Is that how you would pronounce it? They get out of that reality, they solve the case, but Accelerator just randomly calls him. He doesn't even call him, he's just like randomly calls a freaking phone booth. Or like, no. He randomly calls a cell phone that is lying there at a corner of like an alley. Like really specifically hitting if you can contact someone. Because he doesn't want to use the underline that Alistair used. Because he shut down that stuff. And it's just so funny to imagine that basically at every street corner there's a flip phone. Or like a phone, small phone, that Accelerator calls if he wants to talk to some specific someone.
I remember in chapter 4, realizing that I forgot what happened at the end of GT5. It's cool how before the mission was to find which twin? They had to find one of the twins to everybody wanted to get the remaining twins. I forgot her fucking name. What was her name? Yoen. Thomas saves Yoen. Okay, and then they managed to cooperate. And then in the fight with the Akihara, Elizabeth fixes Ladybird, who was the fucking child promised Neverland-esque like child eater. What GT5 does at the end is basically it does a thing where Toma, who's like this, he's like the light side of Academy City, and we have Yoen, Ladybird, Hamazura, the dark side, and they're technically all cooperating to kill, was it Akihara, right? The main antagonist?
Akihara, Hasu.
Yeah, and they're basically all cooperating, and they ignore, the labels of the dark side, beneficial, harmful, and I feel like that underlying narrative theme was actually pretty strong, because we can be people. These characters can be people and cooperate, regardless of their views on society. But afterwards, they're gonna go their separate ways and probably go back to where they came. But in moments of crisis, people come together. And that's what they did, fighting Akihara, and me forgetting things and names that would probably make this, point stand out a lot more. But I'm stupid. But GT5 being a mindfuck really did this, emphasis on to what I believe to be that kind of strong thematic label of, who cares about beneficial, harmful, or where you came from. People came together to defeat that. You want to continue this tomorrow, or?
I think it would be best to finish this tomorrow.
Alright, we can start at GT6 and finish up to 10. These are 40, 40, 30, so this is already going to be an hour and an hour and 40 minutes of one video. Yay! I love that. I love my editing life.
Hopefully I won't be as sleep deprived as I was today.
Well, here's to you getting sleep. I'm gonna stop the recording. 3, 2. Every time I go to the bookstore and see Alice in Wonderland, I am constantly reminded of everything. And
Yeah, that connectivity sometimes sounds like a curse now, doesn't it?
and every time I tell my friends, or every time my friends tell me what do you have against Alice in Wonderland, I'm like, it's a Tawaru thing. And then they're like, ah yes, the series you don't shut up about. I'm like, exactly.